You
I
can.
can hear you.
Okay, we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Team Relentless Call. It's about setting the goals to go as a full-time coach. The three of us who are on the call, myself, Christina Delgado, who is my wonderful coach's sister, who's kind of like my co-coach, and then Gabri Means, who is one of my personally sponsored diamonds. She's also a full-time coach. When we started this journey, none of us really saw the opportunity that lied ahead for us or our families or for the many people that were going to join our team along the way. There's a lot of people that we know that went full time, and we both had different reasons on why we were apprehensive. And for Gabriel and Christina both, they did not want to become full-time coaches. So I thought I'd share this with everybody, and I always open up all my team calls to the public because there's a lot of things that can resonate with in each coach watches live or later on if they're watching this recorded. And I thought it's helpful because a lot of times fear holds us back. So I wanted to turn it over and have each one of them share their story, and then I would kind of give a little background about myself too at the end, but they're more interesting than me. So I'm gonna let Christina go first.
Well, thank you so much, Mindy. I just first want to start off and say thank you for asking me to be on this call. It's an honor to speak to Team Relentless as well as all other Beachbody coaches in the network that are listening in. I know I have some personally sponsored coaches also listening in tonight. So hi, guys. If you don't know me, I wanted to start a little bit with my background story and then tell you how my career as a Beachbody coach has evolved since that time. So I'm married. I've been married to my high school sweetheart, Danny, for almost 11 years now. We have two beautiful kids, Marley and DJ, and they're 6 years old and 4 years old now. But when I became a coach, Marley was 2 and DJ was only 4 months old. And I was presented this opportunity by my sister, Becky Brose, who's Mindy's coach, and I really, I said no at first. My Beachbody career had a lot of no's involved in it. So hopefully, maybe you're listening to me and you're saying, well, that kind of sounds like me. First, I said no to the Beachbody opportunity. And the reason why was because I was a practicing attorney. I had gone to school for 7 years between undergrad and law school to obtain my degree. Then I got a great job at an awesome law firm in Miami, and I started my career there. I actually ended my career there. I never looked for another job. I was very happy. They treated me well. So it was not something that I wanted to pursue. I didn't want to pursue something else to add to my already crazy busy life. I had 2 small kids, I had a family to run, and then I had a legal practice that was just starting to evolve in a very competitive environment. And so I first told my sister no, but then when she said, well, you've already lost all this weight with Shakeology, you might as well get it at a discount. So I joined only for the discount, and then I said no again. I said, no, I'm not going to pursue this as a business. I have too much going on. And it wasn't until I went to my first event, thank God I said yes to that, but I went to my first event. She basically just wanted someone to go with her, and I showed up and I saw all the success that had gone on at the time, and the network was very young back then, but there was a few coaches in South Florida that had seen success in the business, and they were sharing their stories, and it resonated with me more from a I want to help people standpoint than anything else. And so can't I, earn Success Club and then get to the Bahamas, let's say. That was the first Success Club trip that I could qualify for. And so that's how kind of my business started. But then I hit tremendous roadblocks in my business. The first 2 coaches that I ever sponsored, they quit. The first person I sold Shakeology to returned that bag. So it was like a bunch of no's being thrown not only by me, but by the people that I was trying to share this business with. And so I was like, well, is this really for me? And I came to a crossroads. I said, I'll either let their poor decisions dictate my future or decide that I was going to be successful. And thank God that I decided that I was going to be successful in this business. But at the same time, I never, like Mindy said at the beginning of the call, never, ever, ever believed that I would ever walk away from my legal practice, ever. And so I want you guys that are listening in on this call to understand that just because you become a Beachbody coach, you don't have to set the goal to leave your job. Nobody is saying that you have to do that. It could evolve into that like it did for me, and I think it did for Gabri as well. But I always said that I would build my business on my terms, at my pace, all the while staying consistent with my own job, being a practicing lawyer. And so I did that. I did that for 4 years, where I built at the same time growing my legal practice and building this business just by staying consistent in the daily behaviors. I mean, you guys have heard everybody from Mindy and Gabri and whoever it is that's your upline sponsor tell you it's all about being consistent and setting time aside for this business. And so I decided about 1 year in that I was just going to put a little bit more effort into the business. Still not having decided that I wanted to be a full-time coach or ever leave my job. I was the kind of person that defined myself. I defined my existence by my job. Like, I was Christina the lawyer, Christina the litigator. I didn't define myself as Christina the wife or Christina the mom. And you might, be like, oh my God, but I'm just being 100% honest. I defined myself by my status, and that was being a lawyer and then shooting for the goal of becoming a partner at that law firm. But I changed during the last 4 years. It all kind of culminated when my sister Becky left her job, and it had been a goal for her. Unlike me, it had been a goal for my sister to leave her job. But it wasn't the case for me, and I struggled with it because I felt like, was she being a good mom and was I being a bad mom? That I didn't want to be home, that I did want to get up in the morning, that I did want to work every single day and provide for my family and help my husband provide for my family in a 9-to-5 kind of structured environment. I felt that struggle always, whether was I doing the right thing, but at the same time I felt, man, I worked so hard to get to where I was. I was successful at my job. People applauded me at my job, and that made me feel really, really good. At the same time, I started to feel that Beachbody was making me feel that way as well, that I was being recognized even more so than I was at my job, that I was increasing my pay at a quicker rate than my job. So I started thinking, and it wasn't something that happened overnight, but it was always like a little thought in my head, and then Becky left her job, and then Mindy left her job, and I remember sitting at a Franklin Covey event. This was that time management training that we had last year, and we were with Leanne Ruff, and one of the things that she had us do was to define our roles in life. We had to write down 5 or 6 things that we wanted to be defined as. And so I started writing on my piece of paper. I wrote mom, wife, Beachbody coach, and when I tried to put my pen to the paper to write lawyer, I didn't want to write it. And I said, oh my God, like, this is that defining moment. I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I want to be home with my kids. And I looked at Leanne, and she looked at me, and it was like, boom, like the universe collided, and she goes, do you want to say something? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to leave my job. And I set that goal for 1 year from that training. It was like a long time, but I needed to prepare for it. This was going to be a momentous decision to make in our life, being at the time of the primary breadwinner. And but it hit me that this business opportunity could provide me so much more than being a lawyer. I had to set aside my ego that said, I feel important in the courtroom. I feel important when I'm called into meetings. I feel important when my boss says good job. I feel important when I win in court. I had to set that aside and say, what's my number one priority? Like, really, what is it? And it was my kids and my husband. And the only thing that would allow me to provide and be there and be present for my kids and for my husband was this opportunity. And so it was then that I made the decision to leave my legal practice, and I did it with a lot of caution. I prepared not only financially for it, we cleared all our debt out, but we were able to set aside money to prepare for the insurance ramifications of leaving a job with tremendous benefits, and my son, who's autistic, needs therapy and all of that. So while my business started with a bunch of no's and rejection and failure, I let it evolve into something really special. And so if you're listening to this call and you're saying, well, what can I take away from what she's saying, is everybody has a different path. Everybody has different struggles. Everybody has different feelings. Everybody has different everything. No one story is alike. And while the last 4 years have been an amazing ride, more so the last year for me in my Beachbody business, it was a decision where I needed to align my priorities with my actions and setting aside what my ego was telling me to do, that not only pushed me to leave my job, but to put 100% energy into this business that has been such a blessing for me and for my family. So that's my story, Mindy Horde.
That was wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Something that I want to definitely highlight. Oh, I'll keep going. Hold on one second. There's an echo. One thing I shared Saturday, and one thing is like it's really huge on me is a weird echo. It's just me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to mute everybody. Ready?
I'll mute myself.
Can y'all mute yourself? Okay. Let me see how that is. One thing that Diesel Nation was really big on, that we really try to highlight, if you were at the Super Saturday that I hosted in Jersey Village on Sunday, you'll know that I really highlighted why getting to these events, corporate events or anything that is sponsored by Beachbody is so important. Because Christina was saying, I remember the first time we met in person was on the Success Club trip in Disney World at Orlando, March of 2013. And I remember her talking with all of us as a group, a lot of the people on our team and some of our friends, and we actually discussed this. She's like, I'm never going to leave my job. She's telling Jason Diebold, who's our upline, one of our good friends, this. And at the time too, this isn't really related to the call, but he was asking what her why is. And if you're a coach, I'm sure you've heard this, that you need to find out what your why is. You need to know what is driving you. And at the time I said, oh, I want to help people, which seems to be like just the natural response when you're asked what your why is, because we just feel like we have to say that, and it's really not defined. And I think that sometimes that trips people up as well. And because Christina, I remember her crying there, she's like, I don't have a why. And and I tell people too, the only reason I can think of why I became a coach was not because I foresaw this, not because I needed the discount, not because I thought I was going to do this forever, not because I really wanted to help people. It was just because I couldn't tell Becky no. And so sometimes you hear on calls or listen to videos in the back office, or videos that are at Summit or Super Saturday or wherever, and these people have these powerful stories and long whys, but what you don't realize sometimes unless you talk to them in person, is that these things, that the stories that they tell and their powerful whys, and these things that they want to do didn't really happen in the beginning. And there are the people who have them right off the cuff, and lucky them. But for us, it wasn't the case. But, you know, Christina didn't have the why, and I remember her saying repeatedly, "I'm not going to quit." And especially after Becky quit her job and I quit my job, and you know, and I think that the one thing I want to highlight is that these events are amazing because I was able to hear what she had to say about these topics, and I watched her evolve, which makes it seem even more real and makes it, you know, makes me better able to help other people who feel the same way as her. And then, you know, for me, Franklin Covey was kind of a catalyst too for me finally deciding to quit my job just like her, because we started realizing, for me, I realized that I was neglecting my family and my roles there. I'm lucky I had a husband that was home and he was able to do that, and you know, without his help I wouldn't have been able to do what I've done, not just support, but him just picking up the slack at home. But I also realized too that I was greatly you know, cutting short my relationships with my friends because it was all Beachbody and I wasn't balancing it out. And then I realized then too that I couldn't keep up the schedule and the amount of energy I was putting into Beachbody and not have all these other roles suffer, which helped me get out of my job. So, you know, these things may seem minuscule to people, but Super Saturdays, live events, trainings, like Franklin Covey is amazing because it's like a $1,500 value. And for coaches, I think we pay $249 and we can do refreshers. I think $75, don't quote me, but these things are huge because they really open up our eyes. And the one thing that I think about these events are that Beachbody is not just talking about how many challenge packs you sell or you know, if you have a six-pack abs or, you know, whatever it is that you do, they're really teaching you how to be a better person and to be a better wife or, you know, whatever it is that you are doing, that you manage your role so that you have your family there at the end, because this is one thing that was a big topic at the leadership retreat that we were just at 2 weeks ago, and they really highlighted that our family is important and to try to find balance and to not get so wrapped up in the things that, you know, are easy to get wrapped up in, you know, where we are with Success Club, where we are with Rank, that, you know, really try to balance it because our family is important and that should be one of our biggest reasons. So I want to highlight that there too, that, you know, events are the catalyst for this growth and for maintaining your roles the right way. And it's funny is because I came back from the Franklin Covey training, was really available to coaches. It was a month after we returned from Summit, my first Summit in 2013, and I kind of just called a meeting in the town I live in, and people from Houston came, and some of my local coaches came, and Gabri was one of the coaches who came, and I talked to them about balancing your roles because Gabri's little backside of her story was that, you know, she didn't, you know, jump on board for the coach opportunity as fast as maybe I would have liked or she would have liked because she was managing so many roles. And that'll be part of her story. But when I asked everybody to, you know, pick up their roles, her biggest thing was too, and she messaged me after that and said, you know, don't get mad at me, and I didn't, but this is, you know, Beachbody is just going to be a hobby. It's not going to be something I'm going to do full time. And then later on, she was very adamant to tell me that this was not something she was going to do. So I want her to share her story too now. But I want to just really highlight, if you can get anything out of this call, is that the most important thing is to getting to these events, to connect with other coaches, to help you understand how other coaches think, and then also so that you can see the beauty of how people grow grow over time and how things change in their life, and then, you know, more than anything, that you'll see how much Beachbody really cares about us as people, and you don't have to do exactly what Christina did or do it on her timeline or my timeline. And the worst thing to do is to compare yourself, you know, because, you know, Christina beat herself up that, you know, I remember there was tears that she didn't have a why, and then all the other people she surrounded herself with had a why, and then you're like, you heard her say, but she kind of compared to herself what kind of mom she was because she didn't want the same things her sister did. And so there is no comparison. We all have our own journey, our own struggles, our own things that mean a lot to us, and it's because we're all different people and we're all raised differently and we're just wired differently. So, you know, too, this other point I want to make is just don't compare yourself to anybody else. So I'm going to turn it over to Gabri. I think you might have muted yourself. You might want to unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. It still says I'm muted, but you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So I've always been the family-oriented one. I, you know, always try to make it to events, family reunions, and invite everyone over for Christmas and all that kind of thing. And so, you know, when I first started working out of college and I got this job at the radio station, and I was working long hours, and I was working weekends. It was really fun, but I started thinking more about the future. My husband, Quentin, we were thinking about starting a family, and I wanted to do something where I could be home a little bit more, holidays, weekends, and I went back to school and got my teaching certificate because, I thought, well, good hours, summer's off, I can stay home with the babies, and, I soon found out that teaching was not really that 8 to 4 schedule that I thought it was. I was working late nights. I was working a lot on the weekends, grading papers, entering grades, working during the summertime. The pay was not good. You work really hard and you don't really make much. And so I wanted to do something to kind of supplement my income. And a lot of people told me I was really good at photography, so I was like, well, I'll start a photography business. So started picking up a little bit of extra money on the side doing photography, and then eventually got into weddings. But then I was like totally filling my schedule up. We had Weston, then we had Isabel, and I was teaching full time. I was doing photography almost pretty much full time as well. So it was like I had 2 full-time jobs, and I wasn't able to spend that much time with my kids, and it's like they were growing up right before my eyes, and I didn't know what was happening. It was just like a blur. And I talked to my husband. I said, I think I need to give something up. I know the money is good, and I know we need the money, and we can use the money, but I have to quit. I still want to do photography. I'll just do family sessions, but I want to quit doing the weddings because it takes up so much of our time. And I'll never forget when I missed my son's very, very first baseball game ever in his whole life because I had a wedding scheduled that day, and I will never forget that. I'll never live it down. I mean, he won't remember, but I do. And I also remember one time my son told me, why can't you be just like a regular mommy and not have so many jobs? Then you can stay home and play with me more. And so, I decided that was, the money didn't matter, and I was going to kind of scale back my photography business, and so I did that, and all is well. And then I kind of got into Beachbody, got into doing the workouts, and found Mindy on social media, and found out she was a coach, and she said, "Do you want to add me as your free coach?" I said, "Sure." So I got into these challenge groups, and it was fun. I was posting my workouts. I was motivating others. I mean, that's just something I love to do. That was one of the reasons I loved being a teacher, because I could motivate and I could inspire people to be their best and believe in themselves. And so this was just another way that I could do this, and it was, with adults, not kids, but and there was a lot of women there, moms that have had babies trying to get their bodies back, and so I could relate to that. But anyways, Mindy said, I think you would be a really great coach. And I said, yes, but I just quit one job, and my husband would kill me if I started another job right now, so I'm going to have to say no. As much as I really, really wanted to on the inside, I really wanted to become a coach, I just thought, no, I can't do this. And so I forgot about it. And then the opportunity became available to join Mindy's team that I really couldn't pass up. And I talked to my husband about it, and I said, look, I am already working out, exercising, eating right, and I'm already talking to people about it, and I'm sending business to Mindy. These could be my customers. I'm already doing this. Why can't I just, get the benefit from it? Why can't I earn a little extra money off of it? So I talked him into it. I told him, it's going to be a good thing, and he supported me. And so I got started with Beachbody, becoming a coach. I started my own little fit group on Facebook, and I had like 5 people in my group when it first opened, and I was kind of, there I was with my 5 little friends, and but it was good, and it was a great little community atmosphere, and everyone was so supportive and motivating. It was just positive energy, and I loved it. And as the months passed by, I started seeing a little bit of increase in my paychecks with Beachbody, but it was not really consistent. I would have good weeks and bad weeks, or I'd make Success Club one month, and I wouldn't make it another, month, and it really didn't matter to me. I was just like, hey, I'm paying for my Shakeology, and I'm making some grocery money, and all is good. And so, so a little bit more time passed by, and I'm trying to remember where I added my story. Oh yes, this was when Mindy came back from her Franklin Covey training, and she wanted to talk with us a little bit about what she learned and discovered for herself at that training. I went, and same thing like with Christina. I was writing down the things that were most important to me in my life, or what I wanted to focus on. And the first two things I wrote down were being a mom and a wife, and family. And I was like, those are the most important things to me in my life. But I wasn't putting those things first. I was still working long hours. I was still like finding things to fill up my day. I had to be busy. I had to be so busy. Or I wasn't happy if I wasn't crazy busy. And I thought, I need to just scale back. I'm not going to work this Beachbody business really that much anymore. I'm just going to keep tending to the customers that I have, and and we'll see what happens. And so again, I'm very inconsistent. And Mindy kind of gave me my space and everything. She wasn't going to push me to do anything I didn't want to do. Then we went to Insanity certification later that month, and I met Danielle Katz. And I didn't know it, but she used to be a 5th grade teacher, and she was a story about, she called it From Fractions to Fitness, I believe. And I was intrigued. I was. And I started thinking, she's a 5th grade teacher. I'm a 5th grade teacher. How about that? That's cool. How it all happened for her. And and then I think around that same time, Becky had fired her boss, and Mindy was all she was talking about is how she hated her job and she was gonna fire her boss too. And I'm like, good for them, good for them. And I told Mindy, I said, I'm just different. We both love Beachbody, but you hate your job. I love my job. I would never quit teaching because I love what I do. And I did love what I did. I love children. I love motivating and inspiring them to be better people, to believe in themselves, to do wonderful things in the future. I love that part of it, and I gave my best to my students every day. And but as time went by and I started doing more personal development, I started to notice all this negativity around me from people at my work. It wasn't the students, that stressed me out or anything, just other people or whatever, in general, just negativity in general. I started picking up like, oh, yeah, and get those people out of my life. I don't have time for that. I don't have room for those people. And, I would, even if I was having a bad day or if I was stressed out, I would be this like perfect little teacher in my classroom. But then when I go home, I would take it all out on the family. I was stressed out about something. I would be, angry or shout at my children, or I'd, be upset and cry and just go hide in the other room until it was time for them to go to bed and not spend any time with them or my husband and just sulk or whatever. And it kind of, got to the point where it was a more regular thing to where I was letting this negativity get to me, and I just felt like I wanted to escape it. I had to get away from it. I had to be free from all of that negativity. And I remember thinking there just has to be a better way. What if this better way is Beachbody? Becky did it, Mindy did it. Why couldn't I do it? And I thought, what if I really try? What if I really, start practicing those 3 vital behaviors that they tell us to practice? What if I start getting consistent with, my social media posts, people, my personal development, all that good stuff? What if? And I just had this little tiny team, because Mindy had told me a few months back that one of her goals was to get to 5-star. And I thought, I can add some coaches to my team. I can get to Diamond. I can help her out here. So I got to Diamond, but then after that, I didn't really do anything. I just had discount coaches on my team, except for one. There was one person, Chris, on my team who kind of did what I did, a little bit, here and there, and then nothing, and then, also inconsistent. But, hey, that was what her coach was doing, so why should I expect her to be consistent? Because I was inconsistent. So, but I said, let's do this. Let's see what can happen. And I remember Kristina Delgado saying on a call one day, Success Club is non-negotiable. You earn Success Club, be a product of the product, keep doing what you're doing, be consistent, and good things will happen for you. So that's what I did. And January came around, and I made Success Club 4. I missed it by 1 point, and I was kind of depressed and upset about that. And I was like, oh, well, I guess, I suck at this. I'm not good. I'm not good enough. I can't do what they do. And then I got to thinking, I was like, well, I have been so inconsistent. It's probably going to take a while for me to get, things rolling again. So I thought, well, I'll try again another month and see what happens. And, of course, that was when 21 Day Fix came out. Thank you, Autumn Calabrese, because that was just amazing. And even though I didn't think, I was so down on myself at that point, I didn't even sign up for the Cup Challenge in February. And I remember Kristina also saying, if you don't sign up for the Cup Challenge, you are not taking your business seriously. And I felt so bad because I was like hanging my head going, oh, I'm a loser. God, I didn't sign up for the Cup Challenge. And I had done the past 2 before that. But I was scared. I was afraid that I wasn't going to make Success Club, that I wasn't going to earn any points, that I was going to let my team down. And I ended up making like 16 points that month. So I was kicking my butt for not doing the Cup Challenge. So the momentum kept going my way, and Chris, my personally sponsored coach, Chris, she started earning Success Club. I started adding coaches to my team, and I swear I did nothing other than those 3 vital behaviors and try to be more consistent. And I went from making what I was making in a month, my total for the month, I was then making, a few months later, I was making that in a week. And I thought to myself, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. And I just got excited, and I thought, I want to quit my job too. I want to stay at home. I want to do my, talk to my customers and coaches and things like that during the day, do my laundry, cook, go to the grocery store, edit my pictures, get all that stuff during the day. So when my kids come home in the evening, I can spend time with them. I can spend more time with my husband. We can have a better relationship. I can be a happy mom. I can be a better mom. I can be a better wife. And there was a whole series of events, that led up to that. I did Chalene Johnson's 30-Day Push. At the beginning of the year, I read Eat That Frog. And in that book, they say, if you add something else to your plate, you have to give something up. And that got me thinking. I kept thinking about Danielle Katz, Fractions of Fitness, and of course, there was my coach Mindy, who, she didn't push me, but she never gave up on me. And when I said, "Hey, I'm ready to do this again," she said, "Let's go. What can I do to help you?" And so I appreciate that so much. And then again, Chris, my one and only coach on my team, who was doing anything at the time, but I thought, you know what? Maybe no one else wants to do anything, but she's going to run with me. She's going to do this with me. We're going to do it together. You can't do this without a team. That's the thing. Everyone works together. Everyone's helping everyone succeed. We are a family. We are a team, and there's no other way to do it than with teamwork. So I'm proud of the decision that I made. I'm so happy to be able, and so fortunate to be able to spend this time with my family, and I'm still earn an income from working from home. And it's the compound effect. I keep telling my husband, it's just going to go up from here. It can only get better from here on out. And the things you want in life, they might change. I said I would never, ever in a million years want to be a Beachbody coach. Never say never. And just know that you're in control of your future. I'm not done writing my story, and I don't think you are either.
Well, thank you. That was great. You did a great job sharing all of it. We'll just recap on what she said was that, I think there's so many people out there who feel like Gabri did and doesn't feel like they have enough time. And it's easy to say you don't have time. And I remember her and I talking. She joined one of my diamond training groups, and some of her coaches were in there, and she was pushing to go, above diamond. And she started doing personal development because I remember telling her before, you need to do personal development, and that's the one thing on my last Team Relentless call we talked about. Is it seems to be it's listed last on the 3 vital behaviors, and it seems to be the one that seems to be forgotten the most, and it is the biggest one that it has the most monumental effects to your business. And if anybody's read my story or heard my story, they'll know that personal development is a big part of it. So I kept encouraging her to do that, and she said, "I don't have time." And I knew probably out of anybody on the team, when she said she didn't have time, she actually was, spread the most thin. There's a lot of people out there who have one child or no children, and they say they don't have time either, and they do. I'm not going to argue with them or push them. It's their own personal decision, but I did know, and I always helped her out as much as I could because I knew how much she had going on. They were building a house. She has 2 children who are, she has a husband who is, an investigator, and he works crazy hours, and they're a great team, and he really pulls and helps a lot. But a lot was going on, and like she said, it's very misleading to think that teachers have these hours where they can come home and be with their kids. It's not so at all. And and I knew what she was being subject to with photography, and I was never going to ask her to stop doing that because I knew how much she loved that. And my God, she's an art photographer and she's amazing. But she's taking art pictures, and she spends hours with the people that she's taking their pictures, the families, and she gets these great things captured on film, and then she goes home and does editing. People don't realize sometimes with successful people, no matter what line of business they're in, how much goes on the backside. They don't realize the struggle that all of us went through to get to this decision, to make it happen, to keep it, the ball rolling. And once she joined the push to Diamond or Star Diamond above group in I think November, she started doing her personal development, and she has ADD going on, so I suggested the compound effect and Go Pro. Very easy reads, except for me, it took me a really long time, but it is easy reads. So she finished it fast, and she did. I will say that Gabri, it has to be on her own terms. Same thing with me, where we have the same type of personality. But she knew what I said, and I never made her do it. But I explained to her what I thought was missing and what I suggested she do. Well, whenever she actually has put anything that I've told her into action, she's very humble. She'll come back and say, you were right. And once I did it, it worked. And it's so easy sometimes that a lot of people get so defensive when somebody tells them what to do, whether it's in you're a parent telling your child that, somebody that you have a leadership role, if you're a manager in your business that you're in, or you're a spouse, or even if you're somebody's sponsor and you tell them what to do. Most of the time when they get defensive, it's because they know they need to do it, they just don't want to do it, and they'll beat their head against the wall. And at the time it seems very impossible, but she did come back to me and say, I did the personal development. It was very easy, and she's been very consistent with it, since then. And she did say that I think that I was not using my time wisely, and so she just, once she believed she could do it, which I think is one thing I said at Super Saturday the other day, I asked everybody, who here would like to be a full-time, coach? And, people raise your hand, and, who thinks they can do it? And the hands went down. And then, and I said, and I would venture to say, even if you love your job, I don't care how much you love your job, who would not like to be their own boss? Brian, can you get quiet? Who would not like to be their own boss? Who would not like to be able to set their own hours? Who would like to have financial freedom? That's ridiculous. No matter how much you love your job, there's so much freedom that comes with this. And then I said, I really, truly believe that most of you who don't want to do it, it's not because you don't want it, it's because you just don't think you can. And I remember when, I'd never set a goal in my life until I became a coach. It was the end of May when Becky was really going for 2-star and was, helping me get to Diamond. I didn't even know what that meant at the time, but I set my first goal. I'd never set goals before that a day in my life, I swear. Never had. So I set these goals. It became something that became a routine, which has helped me achieve goals. And I've always set dates on it, and it hasn't always necessarily happened exactly on the date, but nearby. And I remember the end of 2013, I wrote my goals out, and I still have this piece of paper. And it was to quit my job by February 15th, 2014, which was my 2-year anniversary. I came to that date because after everybody had been watching for a little less than a year, it kind of seemed like the 2-year mark was the shift that most people would have, if they worked hard, been able to leave their job. And Danielle Katz, who's one of my good friends, she was the one that I kind of formed this kind of benchmark. It didn't have to be that way, but I just thought something she said. And then in January the next month, I met Jason People, spent a weekend with him and a bunch of elite coaches, and me and him sat in his hotel room, and he was showing me stuff on his computer. We were talking about goals, about which one is the most important, which one you would want to go for to get this, and we were talking about 2-year mark was when he decided to quit his job. He was making $100,000 as an engineer, a very smart guy, liked his job, started doing Beachbody, had gotten to about the $100,000 mark there. So he's making $200,000, and he explained this to me that once you get to the point where your income is $200,000, it's kind of hard to say, there goes this, because I think we all know no matter how much we make, and this is what I learned from Danny Johnson, no matter how much we make, we seem to learn how to spend it, and we rely on this amount of source of income we're coming in. So he said you'll have to sit back and cut that out. So you go back to exactly where you started, but then you'll have more time to do this. So I said okay. So I set that goal there, and when I wrote it, it seemed like I wanted to do it. Becky played it safe. She'd been talking about quitting from the time I became a coach, and she's like me. We would play it very safe. Everything has to be, perfect for us to make that leap. I'm not a very impetuous person, and it was scary. And she took a lot longer to actually set a date, because actually I think December of 2013 or 12 was supposed to be her date that she wanted to quit, and then she didn't do it. And so it was kind of scary. And so I think that once she finally quit her job, and after I've been seeing all the signs, and all my team and my best friends and my husband were telling me to quit, then when she did it, it gave me this, I think we're all followers to a degree, even though we want to be leaders, but she did it, and it gave me this hope. And I think that the same thing that Christina set the goal and Gabri set the goal is once you see people doing it and you sit back and watch, it makes you feel better. So it became more apparent to me as the year went on, because I was trying to make it to all these events with Beachbody, because I believe that the events are so important to get to, and I ran out of time at work because I didn't have hardly any time. Ran out of paid time off by Summit, which was June of 2013, and there was times that I needed to be there for my kids, and there was things. It got to be the point, and Gabriel and Amy and Louise and I talked about this on a trip this August, and we were talking about our kids, the things that we missed, and I remember coming in the door, and my kids stopped greeting me. They stopped telling me about all of the things that were going on because I couldn't do it, and it got worse because I was busy building this business, so I had less time. And even though they were so supportive because they knew what I was going for, that there was times about mid-year last year to fall that I thought, I can't do this. There's no way I could go full-time. I'm scared. I'm tired. I didn't get a lot of sleep. And even like Danielle said, that there was times she'd go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, because she's working her business so hard. And if you don't want to do that, and you can't do that, that's fine. But I was doing that, and then it just seemed so far out of reach because I was scared, and because I was tired, and because it was the old Mindy creeping in, and I thought I was going to fail. And then when I realized I was walking the door, and they stopped asking me to do stuff, and there was things they would tell their dad, and they wouldn't tell me because they just knew I couldn't go. And then I realized that I was taking time off to go to Beachbody, and the way little kids think, I thought, no, I got to do this, because what was all this work for if I just quit and stay doing this because I'm too scared? I have to do this for them. They were riding the bus home to an empty house. They were doing a lot of chores that it was more than me just teaching them how to maintain a household and help out. It was me relying on them because I wasn't home a lot, and I was doing all this stuff that I'd done my whole entire life because I grew up super poor, and I didn't want them to grow up like I was. And so all I knew to do was to provide for them because I didn't know what else to provide. And then I realized I'm providing all this stuff for them that I didn't have, but I wasn't in it. I wasn't in their life. So I worked really hard, and I rallied with my team, and I've changed my whole way of leading and my whole everything. And then I was able to quit my job. I turned in my resignation on September 6th, about a month after my coach did, and I don't know why, but me and her both gave it an 8-week notice, and it seemed to take forever. And on November 1st, I walked away from my job, so we're going on 11 months. And in closing, I just want to say that I was scared, and I couldn't have done it without my team and my best friends and my husband and Becky and Christina's leadership. And Christina, even though she didn't want this at the time, she encouraged me, and She's been a big ringleader. She's a great support system, and she always pumps me up, and she seems to come in right when I need it. But I walked away, and remember, Gabri in November, right after I quit, she said, I wish you do, Mindy. She's like, I love working. I was like, okay, you don't have to do that. But I could tell she was scared, and she was just frustrated because she'd been watching me for a month pick my kids up, and she didn't share this to rub in anybody's face. And I remember one of the women that was, she was horrible to work with, which was one of my reasons in the catalyst for me getting out of my work. But she said, you wonder why people at this office don't like you, because they hear what you say on Facebook about, how you want to be with your family and everything, and that you're down talking what this everyday life is. This is what moms do. And she basically made me think that I was acting like I was better than everybody, and I wasn't. I wanted to give everybody hope that we could do this, and we get to be with our families more. My evenings are so much more relaxed now. The first day of school, I got to enjoy being with my kids. I get to have a Friday morning breakfast with my best friends. Not that that's big, but it's a huge thing, having that socialization and being able to connect with these people, because I had really neglected a lot of my friendships before. I got to take a nap with my husband today in the middle of the day, and then Rebel woke up from his nap because he has a poison ivy allergic reaction. And we came back from leadership last year, and I was working, and I had to call in sick and take care of him for a whole week because he couldn't go to school, then I would have been really upset, and I would have been mad at him. I got to do that. He came in and laid down with us. We all just lay there. This is the things I get to enjoy. And, over time, I think that I proved that this was not something I was going to fail at, and this is something that is enjoyable. And I know there's a lot of moms out there who are envious, and it turns into misery and jealousy, and that they might think that we're better than them, or that we're trying to rub it into them, and whatever. We're just trying to give everybody hope that you can do this. You don't have to do this. But, over time, Gabri came to me, and I was on an 11-day road trip where we took our son from Texas all the way to Oregon, got to connect with all of our friends and team members, and I got to stop at Beachbody corporate office in Utah. I got to do all these things. Ryan and I were at a really bad place in our marriage at the time, and it helped us get back on track. And when I was sitting there in Tahoe on the couch, Tom and Melissa just left, and Gabri texted me and said, I want to quit my job. And I was happy for it, but I also said, just think about it. So I'm not saying like, oh, just follow the lead, but I said, think about it for a little bit. Well, she did, and then she asked me, she was like, I just want to know what your income's at now. And it's not all about money, but when you're a parent and you are stuck in the full responsibility of making sure that your children are taken care of and your bills are taken care of and there's food on the table and a roof over your head, money does make a difference. And this is the biggest thing I think why people don't quit. And I told her I just did like a little report to answer a question, and I was like, wow, I made actually it was the middle of March, because it was the middle of March. I was like, I have made right now by the middle of March exactly what I made last year working full time as an insurance agent with 10 years experience, having a job that was really considered a pretty good paying job in our little town here. And I had never really looked at that because I'm not really a numbers person. I just work on what I'm doing. So it's pretty amazing. And, in 2 years without no college, somebody who's been married 3 times with 3 different kids, lots of failures, all these different things, coming from a small town who had self-esteem issues and no marketing skills and not very good people skills, I have developed a huge following, very, very deep relationships, a better confidence level for myself, and helped with over 1,000 people on this journey, and I've grown a team of over 1,600 people in 2.5 years, and turning in a 6-figure income. This is huge. But more than anything, it's being able to see the emotion from these stories and know that I get to be part of this journey of watching how it happens and be responsible for bringing somebody like Gabri home and Sam home and all these different people on my team who've been able to never have to go back to work having kids, and knowing that they get to enjoy their life, their family, because I didn't give up and I showed them that it's the way. And this is a big part of it that I get to be here. Love you. So, night-night.
Mindy, can I say a few
So
things?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes.
So I have to say that both of you did an awesome job sharing your stories. It's like crystal clear how emotional this journey has been for you, just like it's been for me. But I wanted to kind of end with, like, what are the takeaways from the 3 stories you heard? Number 1, that Beachbody coaches come from all different walks of life. You know, we are probably the three most different people ever, you know, like, and we've become like such close, you know, family friends. So the relationships that you form as a Beachbody coach are amazing, and you get to meet and experience other people in such a profound way. But the second thing that jumped out at me was that you heard it from Gabri, you heard it from Mindy, you heard it from me, that getting to the decision or the point that you can say, I want to live a free life and, you know, be with your family and be with your, you know, your husband and your kids and travel and do all these things, it takes hard work. And you heard Gabri say that when she finally committed to the 3 vital behaviors, that she committed to growing her team. You heard Mindy talk about the importance of personal development. I think the common thread between us is, even though I didn't want to give the misconception that I kind of didn't appreciate this business, I always have. It was just slower on my terms. It took me almost 4 years to leave my job, whereas Mindy, Gabri, and my sister were a little bit faster than me. Everybody's on a different journey, but I never underestimated this business opportunity. I treated it always, despite failure and all the no's that I talked about, I treated it like $1 million business. And I know that Gabri now treats it like $1 million business, and Mindy has always treated this like $1 million business. And we go in all day, every day, as if this business is going to pay us $1 million. It's not if, it's when. And that's how we treat this business every single day. So that's number 2. And then the last thing was something that one of my personally sponsored Star Diamond coaches posted the other day, and I wanted to end with that. Mindy might share something at to close it out, but she posted something with this beautiful post about the business opportunity. It said, would you rather work 2 to 3 years to be rich or work 40 to be poor? And that stood out to me. And it literally just like hit me like a ton of bricks when I read that. And I'm like, that's exactly what I did. I worked my tail off for 2 to 3 years in forming relationships and developing myself and developing my team and learning this business inside and out and continuing to learn every single day. It took me 2 to 3 years to get to the point where I could walk away, 4 to actually walk away. But I went all in those years. If you want this to be a goal, or you potentially can see this as your future, it is about going the distance for 2 to 3 years, learning your own business, because at the end of the day, it is your responsibility, and living a rich life than working for somebody else for 40 years, and at the end of those 40 years, not having developed the relationships with your family that they deserve, not treating your body the way that it deserves, and being poor at the end of those 40 years. So that's how I wanted to end, Mindy.
That was excellent. I can't talk that. That is great. That's what I tell everybody, is that I don't hard to give up Saturdays or Sundays and it's hard to leave your family behind to go to Summit or whatever, or even an hour tonight getting on a call. But if this is what leads you after 2 to even 4 years of working hard, proving your family that you can get past failure and that you can write your own, destiny, and you have more time with them, it's better than waiting 18 years of raising a child and coming home after 40 hours of work tired and being there in body and nothing more than that, because later on when they're gone, life does settle down and you'll realize what you missed. And for me, it was worth those 21 months of hard work. If I can do it, if you know my story, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And the 3 of us are very all over the place, disorganized people, and if we can do it, anybody can do it. So with that's closing. Thank you, ladies. I love you both. I'll see you in 2 weeks, Christina. And I will see you next week when you come over, Gabri. So thank you, everybody who's listening. Have a wonderful evening.